And here we are with episode 224 of The Horror Guys.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kevin.
And I'm Brian. And as usual, we've got 4 movies and a short for you.
Uh-huh. What do we got?
Movies.
Movies.
And a short.
We got a brand new one. It's called You're Killing Me. And a not so new one, but fairly recent, The Disappointments Room.
From 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We have Shark Night. And
which is a movie. It's nothing to do with sharks. Not like Shark Week or anything.
Well, but it's a movie, yeah. Frankenstein versus the Mummy. And Cowboys versus Zombies. And The Frankenstein Theory.
But we're not going to talk about all those. Frankenstein Theory and the Cowboys versus Zombies is over at horrorbulletin.com newsletter.
Those are the bonus movies.
Yeah.
And Frankenstein Theory, I'm just going to say right off the bat that Kevin enjoyed that way more than Brian did. It's a found footage film. It's not perfect, but I kind of liked it, and Brian kind of didn't like it.
The main guy's acting was atrocious.
I didn't think he was that bad.
It was incredibly boring. And the ending... I don't remember the ending. It was only a week ago.
Well, you kind of know how it ends at the beginning because it's a found footage.
Well, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So right at the beginning, you find out, oh, they all died. Here's the footage of what happened that they found afterwards.
And then there's Cowboys versus Zombies over at horrorbulletin.com as well. Actually, it's Cowboys versus Zombies, the Devil's Crossing from 2014. Mm-hmm. And it was the god-awfulest thing we saw this week. It was worse than Frankenstein Theory.
Okay, and you're harshing excessively on that, too. Those nice people worked hard on that movie. Okay, it's not great. It's an indie, and clearly low budget.
When these directors send us these low budget, somewhat amateur horror movies, I am thankful to have them, and I try to give them the benefit of the doubt. If I'm paying for the thing, it's got to be a lot better than Cowboys versus Zombies.
And we did pay for that. It was on DVD, if I recall.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. But yeah, I didn't hate it as much as Brian did. How's that?
Okay, that's certainly true.
It had things to like about it.
All right, so those are all. You could read the full reviews on those over at horrorbulletin.com. Uh-huh. You don't have to sign up for the weekly newsletter list, but you can read them right on the site.
Yep.
But if you do sign up for the email list, you'll get all our reviews in your mailbox. One email once a week. Not a bunch of garbage, just once a week.
Uh-huh.
Unless you consider our reviews garbage, and, some people do. Yeah, if at any point you disagree or do agree with our reviews...
Oh, chime right in.
Yeah, send us an email.
We'd love to hear from you.
Email at horrorguys.com, or send us a Twitter... do people still use tweets anymore?
Yeah, I understand that twitting is still a thing.
At Horror Movie Guys on Twitter, and Horror... something on Facebook.
I never use Facebook.
I think it's Horror Guys Podcast.
I forgot we have Facebook.
Yeah, we do have a Facebook, but yeah, okay. Don't send us anything on Facebook. All right, and of course, there's still the newest book out there is The Horror Guys Guide to the Horror Films of Peter Cushing, which is awesome and wonderful. One of my favorite horror actors. We've got all his movies in there. We also have a totally 100% catch-free book, The Horror Guys Guide to the Halloween Films, over at horrorguysshop.com. Download that one and read it in your e-reader or your iPad or your Android device or your iPhone.
Absolutely free. Yeah, and it'll explain the chronology of the Halloween films.
You like that part, don't you?
I do, yeah, because it's confusing.
Halloween is kind of a mess.
They mishmashed and rebooted, and yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, speaking of a mess... we watched The Disappointments Room from 2016, directed by DJ Caruso, written by Wentworth Miller and DJ Caruso. Stars Kate Beckinsale, Mel Rado, and Duncan Joyner. Hour 31 minutes. Spoiler free. This was a slow burn that smoldered, and then it was over. Mm-hmm. It's a case of a mediocre script happening to good people. It has a great setting, a talented cast with chemistry, and realistic special effects. Just nothing really happens.
It fails to launch.
It does.
As the saying goes. Yeah.
All right. How you want to spoil this one, or keep it spoiled? Cut it off a little bit.
We could cut it off a little.
All right. And again, this is Kevin's DVD drawer
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where we picked out the dollar store DVDs that we had laying on the bottom of the pile and said, hey, let's watch some of these.
No, they weren't all dollar store. They were used, some too. We went to a place that...
These weren't dollars? You mean you paid real money for these?
Well, some real money, because they looked promising. I like Kate Beckinsale. She does, Beckinsale.
Yeah. That was what I learned this week.
Yeah, her name is not Beckinsdale. It's not with a D.
There's no D in it.
It's Sale, S-A-L-E. Yeah. But anyway, she caught my eye, and the title, and it's horror, and this looks good. It's a ghost story, and yeah.
Well, okay, where's it go? What happens?
Dana, David, and little Lucas drive down the road and sing as they go. They're a happy family. And credits roll. Night falls and it's raining. They're still driving. Wonder if they'll ever arrive. They eventually get to an old dark house on a dark, stormy night.
That's promising.
A great start. Well, they all want a fresh new start in their new home. And that night, as they all sleep, Dana hears a child crying, but it's not little Lucas. It's not hers. Well, the next day, Dana overhears Lucas playing with a cat that came to the house. And Dana explores the grounds, photographing the many ruins and damaged buildings that they own. It's kind of a rundown place. It's huge and beautiful, but there's a lot of work to be done. And she's an architect and a building person, so this is right up her alley. They go into town.
It looks like way too much work for one person, though.
It does.
And her husband seems to be pretty useless.
Yeah, he's like the house husband. He takes care of the kid and chores and things like that. Well, they go into town, and Marty, the woman at the ice cream store, is ridiculously overcome with joy that someone will finally live in that old house.
Way too enthusiastic.
Well, Dana and Lucas see a scary dog in the yard, and it's always gone when they look a second time. Ghost dog.
Never a good thing.
Yeah. That night, Dana encounters more weirdness in the garden and the house's tower room. She finds a large wardrobe upstairs, and there's a secret door behind it. It goes to Narnia, and she has adventures with the lion and the witch.
No, wrong movie.
Oh, wrong movie. Okay. Anyway, she goes to the secret door, and the secret room. But we see someone in there, but they don't. David suggests calling the doctor because Dana looks upset. So, is she crazy or not?
Who do you call a doctor for when someone gets upset?
It's one of those is she crazy or not scenarios. Yeah. Well, Dana gets some old photos of the house in the mail. One of them contains an old man and a dog just like the one they've been seeing.
Well, we've been seeing it.
Well, they've been seeing the dog.
Yeah, but we've seen the old man standing behind her in a few scenes also.
Yeah, but
she's sitting at the dinner table and you see this creepy old man standing behind her.
And they haven't seen the old man yet.
No.
Right, yeah. Well, Dana finds the key to the hidden door and goes in. And she almost immediately gets locked inside. She freaks out, goes to sleep until nightfall. And a ghost appears, says, he doesn't want you here. It's a lady. And then the door opens in the morning. She goes downstairs and argues with David about who locked the door. And she thinks, she's been gone all night, and he seems to think that she's just been gone a very short time.
Well, she went up in the daytime, and then she went to sleep when it got dark, and then she got up when it got light, and yet they act like it's only been a few minutes.
Yeah, and they didn't hear anything. She kicked and screamed, and, so very weird there, like a time distortion. He thinks that she wasn't gone for an unusual time. And, of course, then, it's back to the, are you having trouble sleeping? Are you doing okay, honey? Back to the, doubting if she's sane or not. Lucas asks her if she's getting sick again. So, well, the problem, we see that Dana and David had another baby, Catherine, who clearly isn't with them anymore.
But we don't know what happened yet.
Right, yeah. Ben arrives, a local guy who offers to help him with the repairs. And Dana doesn't like him, but David's all in on getting more help.
David missed the early part of this conversation, or he wouldn't be so much into it.
Yeah, he's
Ben's a creeper.
Creeping on her. He's creeping on her. Yeah. Well, I think part of it at first he didn't. It was forgivable because he thought she was single, but then. No, I'm not single, and he's still creeping on her.
That's okay with me.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to him. So, yeah, he's kind of a creep. Yeah. Well, Dana finds an old newspaper article about Judge Blacker's daughter's death way back in the day. And Dana decides she wants to move out, but David straightens her out. Well, Dana goes to the library and talks to Ms. Judith, an old woman who knows everything about the town. And she says, Dana, it sounds like you have a disappointments room. When children who were born with certain difficulties were considered embarrassing, and sometimes it was necessary to keep that child a secret, and they would just lock them away for their life. And that's what that secret room is upstairs. These children were prisoners for their entire lives, basically. Well, David goes to town for a couple days, the big town, not the little town nearby. And Ben latches onto the idea that Dana's going to be alone every night. He has ideas, but she soon shuts him down. And we get a deformed children montage as Dana reads up on the secret rooms.
Oh, those are always fun.
Yeah. Dana and Lucas see a girl in a yellow dress up in their room. Dana watches as the dog tears Lucas apart, but it was just her imagination. And then she does find the cat torn apart. She tells Ben to dig up and check out an old grave she found on the property. It's just an animal, right?
Well, let's just stop at that point and leave people in suspense.
Okay, yeah. It continues to slow simmer. And, it's a visual treat. The house is beautiful. And
it looks good,
These people are beautiful. And, yeah, it was unsatisfying, though.
Well, the disappointments room. Mm-hmm. The title alone begs for a bad review.
Yeah.
And it didn't disappoint. Well, the title, I mean. The movie sure did.
Yeah.
Does every horror film need to alternate between real supernatural things and someone not taking their meds?
It is a trope that...
Is it real or are they crazy?
Used a lot, yeah.
And is everyone on meds and I'm out of the loop? Because it seems like everyone in these movies have a bottle next to their bed.
We're missing out.
And the ending here, though, is super abrupt. I fully expected another act or some kind of climax, since there wasn't one.
That's kind of how it felt.
This thing happened at the end, but it felt more like a lead-up to a climax than the actual main thing.
Yeah, you talk about movies having a first act, second act, third act, when things, really build and wrap up.
Yeah.
It kind of felt like first act, second act, and well, then we're done.
Yeah, it was a slow burn that never burned. It fizzled out about when the opening credits rolled.
Yeah.
On the plus side, it did live up to its name.
Yeah.
All right, well, the first movie tried to kill us. The second movie, You're Killing Me, 2023, just came out, was directed by Beth Hanna and Jaron Lauder. It was written by Walker Hare and Brad Marticello. Stars Anne Heche. I don't think it's her final role, but it's real close.
Mm-hmm.
Dermot Mulroney and McKaylee Miller. Hour and 34 minutes. Trailer in the show notes if you're not familiar with this one. And spoiler-free, what sort of happens?
Well, there's a lot of good here. The acting, cinematography, settings, and special effects are all top-notch. But the story is a little contrived. People make choices that aren't logical, and sometimes some simple communication would fix things up. So it's not a great script.
Sounds like a horror movie, though, don't it?
Yeah. Well, for the publisher says, and I quote, "Don't miss McKaylee Miller, Anne Heche, and Dermot Mulroney in the pulse-pounding thriller You're Killing Me. When Eden attends a heaven or hell party, hoping to get a letter of recommendation to an elite university from the wealthy parents of her classmate, the party quickly turns into a fight for her life. You're Killing Me is available now to buy or rent."
Yeah. Is it Anne Heche or Heche?
I always thought it was
Heche.
I always thought it was Heche.
Okay.
I've always said it that way, and I think I've heard
I
it
don't
that
believe
way.
the words ever come out of my mouth before. I don't really talk about her a lot. But
Yeah, Anne Heche. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I always thought she had a sad finish. I always enjoyed her work. I mean, I've always enjoyed the movies I've seen her in, and I had no idea what her personal life was like, but it sounds like it kind of was messed up at the end.
Yes.
Yeah.
And honestly, her character in this one was kind of messed up too.
Yeah, and I wondered,
we both mentioned after this was over.
She was such a mess at the end with drugs and strung out, and clearly.
I wonder if she was acting here, or if it was just something they incorporated into the movie. Because she's weird here too.
Show up and just be yourself, or how that worked. Yeah.
Well, Detective Mitchell comes to class and says he's investigating the disappearance of one of the girl students. and Eden, the main character, walks out of the school as the credits roll. Eden walks up to Schroeder and asks him if his dad, the congressman, is still on the board at Pembroke. She wants him to put in a good word for her on a recommendation. He's a snob and says that that's not how this works. She asks him if he's still having a heaven and hell party tonight, and he says that he is. Is that a thing? People do this with the...
I've never heard of it before.
I've never heard of it either.
Yeah,
Maybe
it's a themed party.
But we're old.
Kind of a costume party.
Eden tells her friend Zara that they're both going to that party tonight, whether they were invited or not. Well, the two arrive at the party wearing angel wings. Eden says she has a plan, and this will all be over quickly. Zara says that Schroeder sucks and he's a snob. Well, they walk inside and are told to put their phones in a box because the congressman is there, or because it's his house, or some contrived reason to deprive the duo of their phones. They have a quick dance montage, and then Eden spots Schroeder. Zara talks to Gooch, Schroeder's friend, and tries to get him alone. Gooch and Zara actually seem to hit it off pretty well. Eden sees a girl outside screaming, "Did any of you see my sister?" Well, Tanya is out there screaming at everyone. She's the sister of the missing girl the cop was talking about earlier. Eden drives Tanya home and then returns to the party. Schroeder asks Eden for her pitch to get into Pembroke. Zara, in the other room, gets drunk and wants to go home, but Eden takes her upstairs and puts her to sleep in a bedroom. We see Gooch in that bedroom's bathroom getting very, very high. He notices the unconscious Zara and approaches.
Trouble brewing.
That's not going to work out good.
Trouble brewing.
All right, well, let's just stop there because that leaves a mental image that really isn't what's going on.
This is the cast of characters. They're at the party, and things happen. Boy, does that go downhill fast.
Things escalate.
Yeah.
All right. Well, would anybody really go to all that trouble to go to a party to hook up with a guy so that his father might write you a recommendation letter for a college that you haven't been accepted to yet so that you just might get some classes with your high school friend?
It could happen.
If you roll some dice, you do just as well.
It's a little bit contrived.
The acting is very good, and the cinematography and it is good also, and so is the set design. It all looks great. The problem is that the story itself is very contrived and is unbelievable.
In a lot of aspects of it.
There's a lot of actions and choices and situations that are just not realistic.
And later it's the congressman is Dermot Mulrooney, and Anne Hesh is his wife. And
yes,
she's on a power trip, and
they get involved.
Yeah, they get involved with this mess and make it messier.
And in the end, the Eden and Zara are probably still going to end up going to jail for all this. Mm-hmm. So the letter to college really didn't make much difference anyway.
It'll be a complicated story to tell the police.
Yeah, you prove that story.
Yeah.
All right. Overall, though, we did like it.
Yeah, overall, I'd say a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Despite
weak story, everything else is good.
Yeah, balances.
And then we watched a short film this week. What did we watch?
Jameson, 2023, which was directed and written by John Humber. Stars Brad Carter, James Grexani, Torrey Daup, Tyler McKinney, and Jasmine Wright. And runtime's only 11 minutes. It's a free one on YouTube.
Those are always the best.
Yeah, and it's pretty awesome.
Once in a while, we could get a short film that's like doing the festival circuit, and you guys can't watch it, but you can watch out for it. Most of them, though, we've got the link right there for YouTube. Just click it and go watch the thing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
What happens?
A man chops logs next to his cabin in the woods. He very obviously leaves his axe outside, and he's doing farming. You know, it looks like he's living there permanently. He's farming and gathering carrots, and then he goes out hunting in the woods to bring home dinner, but he only finds some dead animals out there.
He didn't shoot anything. They're just laying on the ground dead.
Yeah, not having luck hunting. Yeah. Well, we cut to a group of hunters outside. He goes back home, and an alarm goes off in the man's cabin, and he's got it rigged up with a security system watching the woods all around. Yeah, what the heck is that about here? Yeah, and I noticed too early on too, He was standing with the door open, and you could see the metal reinforcement in the door.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, the place was a fortress. Yeah. So you're wondering, what the heck? Well, one of the men comes out of the woods claiming to be alone, but we know he's lying, and he knows he's lying. Our guy is very clearly prepared for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was expecting a kind of, deliverance kind of action, but it's not where this went.
Not where that goes. Yeah.
What's scarier than monsters? People alone in the woods. Well, sometimes.
Yeah.
It all looks really good. The acting is fine. It's always clear what's going on, but we don't know why until the end. And it's very good.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Definitely worth 11 minutes of your time.
Yeah.
All right, and I think the jury may be out on this next one. 2011's Shark Night. Directed by David R. Ellis, written by Will Hayes and Jesse Studenberg, stars Sarah Paxton, Dustin Milligan, and Chris Carmack. Hour and 30 minutes. Spoiler-free, what happens?
It's basic entertainment, and it's not too bad.
That's great praise.
Yeah. Well, it is what it is. There are shark attacks, of course, and there's an attractive cast of victims, but don't think deeply about the science. It has enough going for it to be a moderate thumbs up from the horror guys, though.
Yeah, I think we both liked it.
We both enjoyed it. It's not a serious movie.
Do not think about this.
It's not anything heavy. Just, think of it as light entertainment with a lot of gore.
A couple swims on a beach. The guy gets out for a beer, and the girl is attacked by a shark. She's pulled around just like that first girl in the movie Jaws.
Yeah, that was reminiscent of that.
I don't think that was a coincidence.
No.
We then cut to a university where Gordon, Nick, and Malik argue about nonsense in their dorm. Malik invites him up to Lake Crosby to celebrate his passing grade. It's at Sarah's house, so Nick can't refuse. Malik also plans to propose to Maya this weekend, and Blake is a nude model for the art classes. What?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, Sarah, Maya, and Beth get in the car and they all head to the lake house. Before they arrive, they all stop at a snack and bait shop. What? Somebody's going to warn them not to go, isn't he?
What? Harbinger?
The shopkeeper is creepy. Red, the redneck in the parking lot, is racist, and his friend Dennis has crazy eyes. Sarah knows the guys, and they went to high school together. And they narrowly avoid a fistfight.
Yeah, because Sarah has a history with the one guy. Like, oh, yeah, I recognize you. And,
Boy, does she have a history with that guy.
Friends? Yeah.
Well, they take a boat out to where they're going to go, and they get into a chase with the sheriff's boat. It's a long and involved boat chase, and turns out the sheriff is just one of Sarah's dad's friends, and he congratulates them for outrunning him. They briefly unpack and get ready to hit the beach. Malik tells Nick that Sarah hasn't dated in 3 years. She just hangs out with her dog a lot. Then we get a shark's point of view of the dog swimming.
Uh-oh.
Dun-dum.
Will the dog survive?
Well, Malik is an expert water skier, and he shows us what he's got. The sharks are watching too, and Malik soon loses an arm.
The sharks are so fast in this movie.
Oh, and they jump high too. They're like trained whales.
Yeah, I don't think it's realistic on the speed and the athletic ability of these sharks.
No.
Makes for good entertainment.
Well, Nick is almost a doctor, so he works on saving Malik's life. He dives in and finds Malik's severed arm, thinking they ran over him with the boat motor. He finds the arm, but he also finds a shark. Well, they load Malik into the boat and head back to the mainland. Malik's bleeding overboard, and the sharks make the boat tip over.
Gonna need a bigger boat.
It's a pretty big boat already for a shark to tip it over.
Mm-hmm.
Maya falls overboard and is eaten. They lose control of the boat and have to bail before they run into the highly explosive gas pump. Well, okay.
Yeah.
All right, one more here. That night, Red and Dennis, the rednecks from earlier, show up in their boat. They quickly tell the two what happened, and they want to help. They decide to go back to the marina and call for help. Beth and Gordon decide to go along. Red thinks maybe a shark blew into the lake from the hurricane last summer.
Which I guess can happen.
Well...
But, yeah.
Well, we noticed right off the bat that this was PG-13, which didn't seem right for this kind of film.
And it seemed kind of violent, I thought, for PG-13.
There was a lot of blood and gore for that.
A lot, yeah.
You sure? I didn't notice.
The rating?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, it was a really rough PG-13.
Yeah, it was.
Well, Crosby Lake in Louisiana is a real place, but in real life, it's a freshwater lake, and ocean sharks don't really do that.
So, but was it that real lake, or was it a fictitious
it's a made-up story, but
yeah.
Crosby Lake is a freshwater lake. It's a big lake, too, so people have heard of it. But and they mention in the movie that it's a saltwater lake. They actually do hang a hat on it, but the two don't match up. It's just not real.
Yeah, so it's probably a fictitious version of. And I just double-checked. Yeah, it is rated PG-13 for violence and terror, disturbing images, sexual references, partial nudity, language, and thematic material.
All right.
They got away with a lot.
Sharks don't jump like that. This is definitely at one point some guy climbs a tree and the shark jumps out of the water and gets him. It's definitely not a documentary.
No.
The story itself is about as by the numbers and predictable as horror movies can get.
Well, somewhat. There's a couple surprises.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it has lots of attractive wet people in swimsuits. So there's that.
That is that, yeah.
It's not terrible and it's not boring. But watch it for what it is. It's dumb fun. There won't be an Academy Awards for this one.
No. But it's worth seeing.
All right, and then our big surprise for the week is Frankenstein versus the Mummy from 2015.
I gotta say, I was so pleasantly surprised by this.
Yes, me too.
And well, Frankenstein Theory. It's a DVD that's actually a double feature. It's got both those on.
I'm sure you can find these two movies separately, but yeah, we got a double feature disc.
Uh-huh.
Written and directed by Damien Leone, stars Ashton Lee, Constantine Tripes, and Brandon Despain. Hour and 55 minutes, so it's long.
But worth it.
Yes. Trailer in the show notes. This was surprisingly good, with a full treatment of each monster. Because they explain where the werewolf... There's no werewolf. They explain where the mummy comes from, they explain where the Frankenstein comes from, and it all makes sense. The reason they're brought together is kind of way out there, but it's believable at the same time. It is a clever script. The effects, makeup, and everything was all around entertaining. Yeah, I will go so far as to say this was my favorite of the week.
I think I would too.
This was a dollar store movie, wasn't it?
It was a dollar store movie.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, what a bargain.
Makes up for some of those others. All right, well, let's see. Two shady-looking men meet. There's another list here. It's imperative that the specimens be intact. And he adds that this will be the final time as credits roll.
Uh-huh. This is
Are we talking body snatchers here?
Frankenstein recruiting some fresh body parts.
Professor F gives a...
Professor
yeah,
F.
We're modernized, aren't we? Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Professor F gives a lecture on the philosophy of medicine, while we alternate cuts of him working in his filthy-looking lab.
Yeah, this is modern day. It's not long ago like the Frankenstein.
Yes.
Not like the classic Frankensteins. It's now.
Yeah, it's now in a modern university.
Uh-huh.
We are gods, and gods are us. The boundary is an achievement. The two most powerful things are to give a life or to take a life, he explains. Elsewhere, Professor Naila Khalil gives a lecture on Egyptology. Quite a few of her students believe aliens built the pyramids. That was a kind of funny scene. Well, how do you think the pyramids got there? And their theories were, wow.
I saw that on the internet.
After class, Victor gives her a big hug. They're dating. He asks her how her recent expedition worked out, and she brought something interesting back.
Souvenir.
What could it be?
A big mummy souvenir.
Yep, it's a mummy of a king. Professor Walton wants to take the mummy to England for dissection, and Nayla's not happy about that. Victor notices the mummy's ears have been cut off, which is unusual. I don't believe that actually came up in the story later, did it?
Yeah, it did. Uh-huh.
Did it? Okay.
Yeah. Ears and eyes and, things were cut off because when the mummy
comes, he replaces those parts, right?
Yeah.
Well, a scroll in the Usurcare's tome says the mummy's soul is still trapped inside his body, and, oh, hey, there's a curse.
Uh-oh.
Old man Walton says the curse is nonsense.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, what could go wrong?
Uh-oh.
Well, the school's janitor is Carter, and he's the creepy man we saw before the credits.
The grave robber kind of guy.
Carter encounters a homeless man, and they have a conversation where Carter then stabs the guy and saws the top of his head off.
Not a grave robber. He gets them fresh.
Oh, you need parts, you got to get them somewhere.
Yeah.
Nayla and Victor talk about religion. She assumes that he's a Satanist. That's a leap. But she doesn't really understand what that means.
Well, I think that a lot of people, by default, you don't believe in religion.
Atheist.
You're atheist.
It's not the same
you're
thing
a
as
Satanist,
Satan.
then.
It's not the same thing.
But no, atheist doesn't believe in Satan either. There's not. It doesn't. But yeah, she's of the school that atheist. Oh, you're a Satanist then. No, not necessarily. Not at all.
Well,
yeah,
she believes in the supernatural, but he doesn't.
Yeah, he's strictly science by the book.
He admits that he became a doctor because his mother committed suicide. People shouldn't have to die. And this leads to kissing in a sex scene.
All right.
Religious differences always lead to that. Well, back at the lab, Dr. Walton works on the mummy's body. He finds a rune embedded in its chest, and when he pokes it, it shoots out gas that knocks out the old doctor. When he wakes up, he starts acting strangely. When the assistant Isaac comes in, Walton cuts his throat and drips blood onto the mummy.
Sacrifice.
Didn't see that coming.
Sacrifice.
And we're going to stop there, I think. Because
we're not going to spoil it.
No, this is a good one. I like this one. We'll let people hunt for it.
Well, anyway, we can say that Frankenstein, of course, successfully animates a creature. And, of course, the mummy is coming to life, too.
There's a verses in there,
too. And the two shall clash. Yeah.
Well, Max Reeser, as Dr. Frankenstein, doesn't look old enough to be out of medical school, much less teaching university courses or cheating death.
Yeah, he did seem mighty young for
he
the
looked
role.
like maybe 26, 27.
20s, yeah.
Yeah. Boomer Tibbs, as Professor Walton, is really cool. He looks like Peter Cushing merged with Julian Richings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was especially
I'm amazed
good.
he hasn't done more horror movies.
Especially good, yeah.
Well, the dead mummy prop, the one that, the one in the tomb, the dead thing, looks really good. The animated, the living mummy is pretty good also. Although Frankenstein's monster kind of just looks like a zombie, which he is more or less. But he grew on me as the story progressed. The gore is very well done.
Yes, it is.
I didn't like Frankenstein in the beginning. I thought it looked cheap. But as the movie went on, he got better and better.
Yes.
He just seemed to be more realistic looking.
Yeah, I thought so too.
I don't think the character changed. I think maybe the makeup evolved.
Mm-hmm.
This was actually far better than I was expecting. It's a bit long, but it does fully deal with both monsters. The versus part of the title makes you think there's going to be a huge big battle, but it's not much.
When they finally do get together, it is a little short battle.
Yeah, they do it, but it's not epic.
Yeah, it's not a major part of the movie.
Much like Frankenstein meets the Wolfman from 1943. There's a lot of build-up, and then they fight for like 2 minutes at the end.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's more about the monsters than the battle.
And the people behind the monsters. Yeah.
Yeah, and they never show us how they're going to explain all those dead bodies with no evidence of the monsters at the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good luck explaining.
I would not. The worst part about some of these movies is the cleanup.
Yeah, there's these dead bodies and no, really. See, he came to life, and so did the mummy. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
What mummy?
Yeah.
What
mummy?
What?
Yeah, because
yeah.
Now he was gonna.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, and then we also over at horrorbulletin.com you can check out our review of Cowboys versus Zombies: The Devil's Crossing, which is the worst movie of the week in my opinion. You're going to go with that too, aren't you?
I am going to go with that, but I'm still not going to hate on it like you did.
And the Frankenstein Theory from 2014, which was the B-side of the Frankenstein versus the Mummy DVD. I thought it was stupid. Kevin kind of liked it.
I would put that as my number 2 of the week.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and that is our show for this week. Tune in next week where we're going to have more horror movies.
We sure will.
What are we going to have? We're going to have the 80s week. No, we're not. What are we going to have?
It's not 80s week next week? Okay.
No, I don't think it's 80s week.
We got an 80s week coming up soon.
All we've got, so this is the problem when we get caught up. We don't have this week done yet.
Okay.
I know we're going to watch the brand new Children of the Corn movie from 2023.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good one.
Yes. We'll talk about it.
And we'll watch some other things too, which we'll talk about next week. Or if you just can't wait, go over to horrorguys.com and read them as we post them.
Yeah.
And until next week then, I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
And we'll see you next week.
See you.